Good morning, Knicks Nation. Today is Wednesday, the 16th day of April 2025. I hope you're all safe and healthy today. I hope your family is safe and healthy and that the needs of you and your family in terms of food, shelter, clothing, as well as health are being met today. Blessings upon those that work in the healthcare field, along with the first responders who every day are doing their best to save lives. Blessings upon those that pick up garbage to keep our places clean and those that make deliveries for our convenience. Double blessings on the men and women that are out here trying to help rescue, deliver, and recover the teenagers and children that are victims of child molestation and pedophilia. People that are trying to rescue those that are victims of prostitution and child prostitution, pornography and child pornography, human trafficking and sex slavery. Double curses on the perpetrators, profiteers and the perverts that drive these industries. Finally, double blessings upon the homeless. Now, more than 700,000 men, women, children, families, senior citizens, and military veterans homeless in the United States of America. Blessings upon them, for theirs is the kingdom. So, yesterday we discussed the importance of Deuce in this upcoming playoff series against Detroit. Another very important piece that can turn the series like Deuce can is Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell Robinson, as we know, he's only played 17 games in the regular season out of 82, so he missed most of the season. In most of the 17 games, he was minutes restricted, and of course, he did not play back-to-backs. The plan was to have him prepared to go full tilt in the playoffs. Well, now the playoffs are here. Now, looking at his numbers in terms of the combinations, again, why I bring up the players I bring up is because of their effect on winning. It's not because of their stats. It's not because of whatever. It's because of their effect on winning. They have a positive effect on winning for the New York Knicks. Mitchell Robinson is among those. It's interesting. I looked at the lineups on Basketball Reference with Mitchell Robinson in the 17 games that he played, which is, of course, a very small sample size. But what I found interesting about these lineups is that the lineups where Mitchell Robinson was negative usually involved Josh Hart. And the lineups where he had the biggest impact in terms of plus minus almost always involved Deuce McBride. Very interesting. So, for example, in two-man combinations, McBride and Robinson, and again, the sample size is small, but they played 114 minutes together, and they're plus 23. Whereas Josh Hart and Robinson played 186 minutes together and are -1. And actually, and Brunson and Robinson alone are -1. And then in three-man combinations, it's McBride, Robinson, and Bridges plus 27. But it's Robinson, Hart, and Anunoby, of all people, -13. Now, I don't know if that's because they haven't had time to gel together. That's certainly a possibility. But you're not going to get the time now. This is the playoffs, so you have to do what you do. But Robinson, by far, seems to play a lot better, has a lot more effect when McBride is in a lineup with him. You have one lineup on the four-man combinations, Shamet, Hart, Robinson, and Bridges, plus 38. So the two guards with Hart make a difference. Same thing as in the second thing with the four-man combination. It's Robinson with Hart, McBride, and Bridges, plus 26. Whereas the worst one was Robinson with Hart, Brunson, and Anunoby, -24. Or Robinson with Hart, Brunson, and Bridges, -23. It just doesn't work well. Robinson with Hart, Bridges, and Anunoby, -8. Robinson with Brunson, Bridges, and Anunoby, -4. So at this point, and it may change, like I said, because they haven't had time. They have no training camp. They haven't had a lot of time to gel. So maybe that changes. And it's certainly possible. It might. But for right now, the immediate impact of Robinson involves Deuce. which is why I don't think, in fact, I know Thibs is not going to start Mitchell Robinson. Some of you are thinking that he is. You can rest assured he's not going to be starting Mitchell Robinson. But you're going to see some sets with Robinson and Towns. That still, there's not much to go on in terms of sample size. But with three guards, especially with Deuce in there, they'll be all right. So in the 5-man combination with Robinson, the top producing unit was DeLon Wright, Shamet, Robinson, Bridges, and Anunoby. But they only played 9 minutes together. But so that they were plus 63. And then with Robinson, McBride, Brunson, Bridges, and then now that's a lineup you probably will see. Robinson, McBride, Brunson, Bridges, and Anunoby. They played 18 minutes together, plus 45. Shamet, McBride, Hart, Bridges, and Robinson, 19 minutes, plus 43. You're going to see Deuce with MitchRob a lot, as you should, because they're very effective together. So, and not only that, I'm looking at the game logs, and the most effective, now the Knicks were 10-7 when Robinson plays. They're 10-7, but in the 17 games that he played. But his most effective stat is when he got at least 2 blocks. When he gets at least 2 blocks, the Knicks were 4-2. Again, small sample size. But what that tells me is more than his scoring, even more than his rebounding, his effect on protecting the paint, which not only is shown in the blocks, but is not shown in statistics. It's shown in wins, is the most important factor of the Knicks winning with Mitchell Robinson. His ability to protect the paint and man the lane is the most important factor. Of course, you're going to notice, he's going to become, he's not back yet, but he's going to become, he's one of the best offensive rebounders in the league. So his offensive rebounding is also very important. And during these blocks, he also has a pretty good amount of offensive rebounding numbers during that same 4-2 stretch. So you'll see a lot of Deuce with Robinson, and Robinson's role will be protecting the paint more than anything else. His scoring is not as important, okay? Hitting the free throws is not as important. What's important is he protects that paint. And then secondly, he gets those offensive rebounds. Not rebounds in general, offensive rebounds. If he can get that and protect the paint, he'll be very effective. So we have seen what he's like when he's on. We all remember the Cleveland Cavaliers series from 2 years ago. Now, Cleveland is determined to show they're not scared of him anymore, which is what they've been trying to flex this year. And that's fine. They don't have to be scared of him. They just got to beat him. And so we think that the Knicks can beat Cleveland or Boston with Mitchell Robinson healthy and Deuce McBride healthy coming off that bench. Both of those teams have very high-level bench players. In fact, it's the 2 guys that are probably vying for the 6th man of the year in Peyton Pritchard and DeAndre Hunter. But that's for future. We got to get by Detroit. So right now against Detroit, you could probably see a lot of Deuce with MitchRob, and it's going to be effective, okay? Especially against second units. You'll see some Towns with Mitchell Robinson, as we all are anticipating. It's still unclear as to how effective that's going to be because there's not enough sample size for us to see it. So, and that's actually good too because Detroit can't game plan for something they haven't seen a lot, And so it could be that you see a lot of that. But I did like what I saw with it when they had 3 guards, Brunson, Shamet, and Deuce. Very good. Or even you take out Shamet, put Hart in there. Still works. But I like this. If he can be that dominant player from the rim protecting standpoint, then Knicks going to be in good shape. They're going to be in good shape. And if Deuce, now, again, for Deuce McBride, the constant is his defense. When I mean the constant, you can depend on that. That's going to be there every night. The variable is his shooting. If his shot is falling, Gonna be a good night for the Knicks. See, so good series. So for Mitchell Robinson, if he can protect the paint and get offensive rebounds, the Knicks will be in good shape. That's very important here. So that is a function of foul trouble. Now, Mitchell Robinson has not fouled out of any of the 17 games he's played in. He had 4 fouls once, and that was a win against Portland. He had 4 fouls. He's been very careful. He's learned as a vet. Now he's a vet, how to protect himself from being in foul trouble. Of course, the refs do play a role in that, but I'm hoping that they are playing fair on both sides of the ball, and that will give Mitch Robinson. The foul trouble problem is Karl Anthony Towns. He does some stupid fouls, but that's another story. For Mitchell Robinson, again, if he is protecting the paint, which is what he does, and getting offensive rebounds, which is what he does, then they can have a good series against Detroit. Very important. So that's another key piece, Mitch Rob. And again, like I said, the blocks are cool, but really blocks just mean somebody got beat. But if he can just protect the paint, which he does, if he can intimidate them, if he can cause people that want to get in the lane to hesitate about getting in the lane, big time for the Knicks. Big time for the Knicks. With the defense that you have on the perimeter of OG and McCall and Josh Hart and then Deuce McBride and Shamet, with the defense you have on the perimeter, if you get a hesitation, that's all it takes. A guy hesitates before he comes into the lane. That's all we need. Okay, and I think Mitch Rob can produce that. And then get us 3, 4, 5 offensive rebounds on the course of a game. Big time. That'll be big time for the Knicks. So Mitchell Robinson is another key piece. If he's on his game and the things we talked about, then this can have a good series here. They have a good series here. And I think he will be. There's no minutes restriction. I'm expecting him to get 30 minutes a game, between 24 and 30 minutes a game. Okay? And so we'll be ready. Y'all enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Sure.